Welcome to the Ferris Love Podcast. Here we explore spiritual insights and practical strategies to help you cultivate a family life rooted in beautiful, self-giving love. Join us as we invite experts to share uplifting perspectives and actionable advice for navigating the joys and challenges of modern family dynamics.
Welcome back to the Ferris Love Podcast. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Today I am joined with the one and only Courtney Roach from The Daily Nothings, from Becoming Courtney, all of that great stuff. Courtney, how are you doing?
Oh my gosh, I'm doing so much better now that I'm on this podcast. I'm so happy to be here. I'm recording this on a Friday, and so it's just been a really happy, great day because who doesn't love Friday? So I've just been in the best mood, and now I get to finish it with this incredible, incredible sweetheart, Amy. So thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time.
Absolutely.
For the viewers who may not be familiar with who you are and the work that you do you want to give a quick little bio about yourself?
Totally. Absolutely. So, yeah, my name is Courtney Roach. I am 30. I am single and I love to romanticize life. So, I run the account Becoming Courtney and I just kind of overview all the things that are becoming the art of who you were meant to be. And then I also am the host of the Daily Nothings podcast alongside my best friend Megan Day, who, yeah, we just discuss all of the things that amount to eternity. We really get into the details of the fact that the world might say that it doesn't matter and that it doesn't mean anything, but actually, it all over time with every decision that you make amounts to eternity and also impacts who you're becoming. So, becoming is kind of my shtick. It's my spiel. And I love it and I'm passionate about it. And it's just an honor to work in the digital marketing world and to do it specifically for digital evangelization. So that's me.
That's so fun, and I love your whole shtick of becoming because
Praise
aren't we
God.
all?
Yes,
Aren't
we
we
all are
all?
becoming every single day. Totally. Yeah. So I'm happy to be doing it.
Totally. You've mentioned in the past that beauty has like played a kind of a big role in your conversion story, which
Yeah.
I didn't know until recently that you converted. But, marketing can sometimes because, you're in this digital space,
Hmm.
and you do this for work.
Yeah.
Marketing can sometimes feel like you're chasing an audience, especially with the social
Totally.
media, the short
Totally.
attention span, all of that. How do you practice the feminine art of invitation and like drawing people in with your
Mm,
content?
I love that so much. I think that really what I focus on here is authenticity. I think that in the social media world, it's so interesting. There's such a balance, right? There's one side where it's extremely artificial and you can
Yeah.
tell that everything is just a little bit too staged, a little bit too curated, a little bit too perfect, like there's no way you're actually using your perfect plates every single day and that you never run through the McDonald's drive-through. There's so many like things that it's like, okay, let's see a flaw. Perhaps that'd be excellent. And some of these big influencers that we really love that are super wealthy, super big, whatever, and then there's the other side of social media where you're oversharing and maybe you're sharing way too much and there's no privacy and every single detail about your life is out on the air for everyone to see. And I think that both immediately result in success. And you can so quickly just be super famous and super popular and super well known because there is, I don't know, this like extreme, I would say, satisfaction in that perfectly
Mhm.
curated side. And then there's
Yeah.
also this extreme satisfaction in knowing everything about someone and feeling like they are your absolute bestie or family member, right? And so I think that really focusing on finding that intimate in between space where I can be very authentic and very much
Mhm.
myself and very free, right? Showing myself with sweaty hair after hot Pilates and no makeup on and a beet red face because I just worked so hard, or really trying to just like, yeah, I don't know, be myself as much as I possibly can in the digital space. I feel like that is what I have really, I don't want to say used in a negative connotation, but
Mhm.
used to bring more of that invitation into beauty because our Lord invites us to be fully alive as ourselves. He came so that we might have life abundantly. And so I want to like show
Yeah.
this abundant life that I'm living and how beautiful and joyful and detailed it is, while also just really, really trying to remain rooted in who I am and who He made me to be. And I think that with that invitation of me, yeah, just being super real, in regards to prayer, and then also being super real in regards to my favorite Justin Bieber song at the time, I think is very needed in the digital
Yeah.
space because a lot of Catholics feel like they can't have both. They can't like Justin Bieber and be consecrated to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Like, our Lord is so abundant and we're so
Mhm.
human, and it's a very fine line, but I feel like I've really been called to show that balance and to invite women into that well.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
and speaking of balance, you wear quite a few hats. You know,
Yes, I do.
you you run a podcast, which is a lot of work in itself. I know you have help, you have a
Yes,
team. You've got a good
I've
team.
got
But
my
like
help. Yes,
you
praise God.
still gotta talk. You still
Yeah,
gotta chit chat.
exactly.
But you do that, and then you have your page that you run, and that's, a lot of work as well. But then also you have a day job as well.
Exactly.
And so it's, I feel as though we can get in just like the hamster
Yeah,
on the wheel, just constantly going.
yeah,
And I feel as though I don't feel, I know you put out
you're all good.
fantastic, high quality content.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's so pivotal in, you know, evangelization space. How do you prioritize making sure that like you're living a balanced life, but also like producing high quality work? Because
Mm,
that is, a facet of the world of marketing and in this
totally,
space.
totally. That is such a great question, Amy. It's so hard. It is so hard. It is not easy in any capacity. I think that if I'm being really honest, a lot of the I don't wanna say a lot. Many weeks go by where I am truly hustling and I'm just trying my best to get things out because, yeah, it's like social media and the algorithm is this angry monster that just wants more of you all the
Mhm.
time, and it'll take as much as you'll give it. And so trying to find that balance between all of these pillars that I wanna have in my life. I want to be a Pilates princess, so I wake up really early to go to Pilates. I want to be a macro counting girly, so I'm not just eating, I'm thinking through everything that I'm eating.
Yeah.
And I want to be well educated, and I want to know pop culture, and so I'm, like, thinking about what I'm listening to when I'm driving to work and on my long commute. And then I also want to be an entrepreneur, and I want to be a podcaster full time, and I want to be a graphic designer. And there was this reel that I saw yesterday with my friend Madison, and it was like just talking through all of the things that we deal with that are just so many hats of like, you've got to
Mhm.
go to Pilates if you want to be hot, but Pilates is super expensive. And if you don't work too hard, then you won't be able to pay your bills. But you also have lots of taxes to pay, and you've got to go off to that wedding in Norway this summer. And if you go off to
Mhm.
Norway this summer, you've got to go shopping. But you want to make sure that you're not shopping in a way that's really including clothes that are going to go into the landfill. So maybe I should rent my clothes, but I don't want to rent my clothes because then that means that I'm not investing in my capsule wardrobe. And if I don't have a capsule wardrobe, then I'm not a considerate person for the environment. And if I'm
Yeah.
not a considerate person for the environment, then I'm in this political party. And I don't know if I want to be in that political party. And then it's like Trump, 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 war, war, war. Make sure that you're doing this, make sure that you're doing that. And it's just like this cycle of constant, constant, constant standards that each person chooses to identify themselves with. And I think that within that, you can also get totally slurped into the algorithm, like
Yeah.
involving all of these pillars that you're a part of. And so, yeah, there are some weeks that with all of that chaos that I just listed out, I feel fully overwhelmed. And I'm like, okay, I have to get a reel out for the daily nothings right now. So I'm going to do what I can. It is not going to be as great as I want it to be, but I'm going to do what I can because I'm just a little flower and I get it done. And then same with becoming Courtney. There are so many days that I have numerous Substack articles that I want to write and I want to get out for my brand. And it
Mhm.
just doesn't happen because I
Yeah.
can't do it because I have to put my phone away and get to bed at a decent hour because I have a standard of waking up to go to Pilates in the morning. It's just like you
Yeah.
can't do everything is my point.
Mhm.
And so I think that also kind of gearing your schedule, like with Focus, the company that I work for, that's a great Catholic organization. If we've got really big posts that are coming up or really important things that are going to be going out,
Yeah.
representing the Catholic Church and potentially impacting the hearts of souls, I'm going to plan accordingly around that. Same with the
Mhm.
daily nothings, same with
Yeah.
becoming. Courtney, like this is a massive task to do. And it's just like a big test that you had in high school, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're responsible for your Algebra 2 exam and you have a sleepover at your bestie's house the night before. And guess what? You don't do as good of a job as you thought you would.
Mhm.
But then other times you really study well and you go to bed early and you're like, I'm going to take care of business and you crush it. And so that's part of maturing. And I think that when it comes to the big things that I really need to make sure I knock out of the park, I adjust my schedule accordingly and I say no accordingly and I get a good night's rest. And I might set Pilates to the side. There's different aspects of balance that you have to find when you are creating such front facing content, you know?
For real.
People are going to see what you're doing. So what are you going to do about it?
Mm. Yeah. Kind of pivoting off of that, I think, when you were listing off the reel that you had seen, I
Yeah.
feel as though probably quite a few women internally felt so seen.
Yeah. It's so real. I saw that and I was like, "That's me." It's crazy.
Yeah. But I think also that it's one of those things that's kind of not a lie, but it's a tactic where
Yeah,
whether you are single or whatever married,
yeah,
you have 6 kids, you have 1 kid,
yeah.
we have this need and this pressure that kind of builds up to do it all, to be it all. And what would you say is something advice you would give to just the woman who feels so overwhelmed with
Mm,
all the things that she's trying to balance? And, you mentioned prioritizing and just
mhm.
like, shifting schedules, but like
Yeah,
what, words of comfort or just advice would you give to someone who feels a little bit like they're drowning?
totally. No, that's great. I would say I went through this program with the Catholic nutritionist called Made Good, and the Catholic nutritionist is ran by this incredible woman named Flo, and I always plug it when I can because it truly transformed the way that I live and just the way that I say yes and no to things. And when I was going through that program, it's a 3-month program, there was this certain portion where we really dove, pardon me, not dived, LOL, dove into kind of like the basics. And I always compare it to the foundations of ballet. I grew up dancing, and
Oh,
without
I did
ballet,
too.
oh my gosh, cute, love. Um, there's like within ballet, you have to have ballet as the foundation of all dancing. It's
Yeah.
just the way that it is. It's the fundamentals, it's how we go about all other forms of dance. And I think that when you're considering, okay, I've got too many things going on, you need to
Mhm.
look at your life and really think about what the foundational pillars are. And I always say pillars, I think because I work in digital marketing and you have to
Yeah.
have brand pillars with everything that
Mhm.
you create. But I also think it's a great visual. And so, what are the necessities in your life that it's like, no matter what, I cannot live without these things? Those things, no matter what, are eating, sleeping, hydrating. Those have to happen, right?
Mhm.
Not negotiable. And then outside of that, I would say prayer and a job. Like, those are things that you have to have. Then, if you think about taking care of yourself, you're absolutely going to add on working out. And when you're yeah, just kind of making your schedule for every week. I always start with thinking through like how many times a week I want to be working out, how many minutes a day I can go about praying, and then how much time does work actually take up? And what am I going to eat at work? And what's my hydration goal while I'm at work? I've got a hydro jug. So I'm like, okay, the goal is to get through 3 hydro jugs a day, which is very easy in the state of Colorado where I live because it is so dry here. So I'm always
Yeah.
slurping that thing. And then outside of that, I set parameters on my social media to help with my sleep. And I make sure that I plug my phone downstairs so that I actually get to bed because you can have all the discipline in the world to say, okay, I'm going to go to bed at 9. And then if your environment is not encouraging sleep, you're not going to sleep. And I can say that from great experience because your girl used to be scrolling on Instagram with a little lamp on and have a little show on my iPad so that I was just kind of like, quote, winding down. In
Mhm.
what way is that actually encouraging me to wind down? It's not.
Yeah.
Literally scientifically, it's not. And so my routine looks so different. And there's so many things that you can get into with your circadian rhythm and your macro counting. And there's so many things that you could get into that just start to feel very overwhelming, which is why I always encourage people to go about the program with Flo, the Catholic nutritionist, because yeah, is an investment that truly transforms your life. And I've never met someone, and I know so many people that have gone through the Made Good program they've never left it thinking that was a waste of money or that wasn't worth it. And I will always plug it because it's just transformed so many of my habits. And the biggest one, honestly, is me taking care of myself with my sleep, my hydration, my eating, and my working out. Outside
Mm-hmm.
of that, I kind of had the flow of things down when it came to like prayer and taking care of my soul and just discipline at work. But I was not sleeping enough. I was not drinking enough water. I was drinking way too much caffeine, and I was literally never working out. And now my life looks completely different. And so I think when you've got those different pillars of life that it's just like the standard that you're going for, yeah, it can feel like a lot. But when you get past that drama of this is too much and you look at yourself and you're like, I want to take care of myself, I want to be that kind of a baddie, then you just
Mm-hmm.
make it happen. You do it. Literally, you just do it, like Nike said, and you make it work. And then everything else just kind of seems to fall into place and you're not even thinking about it anymore. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
like ballet with dance, where you're not going about a freaking hip hop dance thinking about ballet foundations. It's just kind of naturally a part of the way that you move. And so, yeah, I would really encourage going back to those basics in your life instead of flailing in all aspects of life, having really concrete resolutions in those pillars so that you can potentially flail in other areas and fail literally and
Mm-hmm.
fall and hurt yourself, get back up, whatever, live
Yeah.
life. So,
Yeah, exactly. No matter what stage of life you're in, like if you're a mother, like, yeah, you need to get sleep. Obviously, it's probably not going to be as much as when you were in college, but like
yeah,
you got to eat, sleep, drink some water, and feed your baby and keep them
yeah,
alive. So,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
everything else
exactly.
can, you know, I mean, obviously not your relationship in the faith, but like
Right,
everything else, um, given that the immediate needs are met, then
right.
everything else can be a little more fluid. They can,
Exactly.
you don't need to
Exactly.
worry about
Exactly.
having a picture perfect home.
Right. Right.
If there's laundry on the floor,
Right.
then there's laundry on the floor.
Right. And you can't compare to other people. Like, obviously, everything I just said was so geared towards a single woman because that's the vocation that I'm in at this time.
Hmm.
But you can't compare. You can't look at my life and be, oh, well, Courtney's really succeeding because she's going to Pilates every day at 6:30 in the morning. Like,
Yeah.
that's literally impossible if you have kids. That's not going to happen. Or Courtney's really thriving because she prays for 30 minutes a day. Okay. Once again, shush, get that out of your mouth. Figure out what
Yeah.
the Lord's calling you to. He could be calling you to an hour. He could be calling you to 5 minutes. Either
Mhm.
way, do it consistently and do it with intentionality and know that like there will be fruit that is born from that. And
Yeah.
we can pray that it will be fruit that lasts.
Yeah. I recently listened to an podcast episode with the Logos podcast. I
Mm.
mentioned them a couple of times, but they had Shane Smith on, and he mentioned
Yeah,
how he, when he converted, he was like, "Oh my goodness, I am gonna, be someone who prays the rosary every single day," and he had
totally.
this whole like list out. And
Yeah,
then he was saying, but then I realized I'm just kind of a chaotic person, and
yeah.
things that don't happen. And he said, so
Mm.
sometimes I don't get to it. And he said, all I end up doing is saying 3 Hail Marys because that's what I have time for. And I think he made a really good point that,
I love
you
that.
know, when you are intentional, which we talked about intentionality, anything can become a prayer.
Yeah,
And I think that,
totally.
for the mother who's feeding the baby at midnight, there's a prayer right there. For
Right,
the person having to do dishes and they hate dishes, there's a
right,
prayer right there.
right.
And so I love what Father Mark Mary says, that when you love someone, you get creative. So he talks about
Mm,
how, when you start dating someone, you start thinking of creative ways to be with them. And he
mm,
compared it to how Christ loves us so much. He found a very creative way to be with us, which was in the form of bread and wine.
mm.
And it's such a simple thing that even people
Yeah,
in Auschwitz were able to have mass because they were able to find just a little bit of bread and,
yeah,
some semblance of wine. And so I think when we want that relationship with Christ, we can be creative in the ways that we have it, no matter what our
totally.
vocation.
Yeah, you can't be stopped. That's exactly right. I love that
Yeah.
so much. Wow. I want to listen to that episode with Logos. I love them so
Yeah.
much.
They're
That's so
great.
good. So good.
To kind of steer us a little bit back on track,
Yeah.
how do you live the trait of receptivity? Just you're so open in the work that you do. I think focus, especially. How do you maintain that receptivity while also managing just like the fast paced demands of, a marketing department, um,
Totally.
and just demands in life in general.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks be to God, I do have a team when it comes to creating with focus
Yeah.
because we will really just look at the fundamentals of our content calendar, which really has a lot to do with Catholic feast days and different departmental needs. And then we kind of dive into our own organic thoughts. And so a lot of it can come from the inspiration of just like reading the gospel. Like recently we had Divine Mercy Sunday, right? And
Yeah.
when we were looking at the design for Divine Mercy Sunday, it was like, okay, let's look at the readings of the day. Like we so gratefully have these incredible guiding words of the readings of Mass every single day. They're universally read. And so we'll do a lot of reading in regard to just how we want to design it. And then we also kind of
Mhm.
lean into the traditions of the church with that too. But I would say when it comes to like the personal conviction of something, I don't know. I really feel like that comes in even more so with my own personal page with Becoming Courtney, because with Focus, I think that there is I don't know, there's such a wealth of, I wouldn't say products, but just like tangible deliverables or content that we have. Like we have so
Yeah.
much incredible photography and so many great resources and so many incredible photos and videos. And so we're praying through it. And man, when we pray through content, it is just so much more successful. It's awesome. Like the Lord is so much more present. But then He still blesses when we're not as prayerful, when we pray,
Mhm.
when we're not as prayerful and we just kind of produce. Like He also still blesses that. But there's always something teachable that's happening between us and the Lord when we're creating content within Focus. And I don't know, I think that having such a wealth of resources, because when you're creating content on social media, you have to have something to post. So you need a photo, you need a video, you need something, or it's a graphic that you're creating from scratch. And yeah, I think that it is not necessarily easier, but just a little bit better because I have such a wealth of information and content to use at Focus. But when it comes to Becoming Courtney, I really have to create something out of nothing. And so I'm making the video out of my own thoughts, or I'm taking the photo myself. And with that, I just have to and desire to invite the Lord into that so much more and really just have it be a form of intercessory prayer in creation. For any artist, it's so much more fun when you have a muse, and it's so much more exciting when you
Mhm.
have a reason behind something
Yeah.
instead of being to be. And so when I really invite the Lord into it and I'm asking Him, what do you think of this? Should I post this? Do you like this idea? Do you like this podcast topic idea? I'm not
Mhm.
sure about it. I don't
Yeah.
know how I feel. What are you thinking? If I invite the Holy Spirit into it, sometimes it's crickets, but a lot of the times I'll just feel unease or I won't feel sure, or I'll need to reach out to a friend and be like, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
Think that when it comes to creating for Becoming Courtney and the Daily Nothings, I think that there's just such a intimacy there. And then I honestly almost am challenged more so to really make sure that I'm inviting the Lord into everything that I do because I have so many resources. And so that's why having a team with focus is just so helpful for me to be able to
Yeah.
really like rely on them, pray with them, say, is that right? Is that the correct teaching? We rely on the
Mhm.
formation department a lot because they're the ones that are such like educated masterminds with the Catholic
Mm.
Church. And so
Yeah.
we'll come to them and be like, is this correct? This idea, is this too far? Is this good? Is this bad? So it's just such a united effort to really get that content out. And I think that that's so essential because it's such a large platform that it's like, if we just did it on our own without checking in on other people, that would be a little risky, you know?
Yeah.
So
Having a
really
team.
inviting Jesus in.
Yeah, having, like, the team too, and Jesus is a part of the team, but
Exactly.
it's really nice, and I think what's so fun about the
Hmm.
Catholic faith is just so beautiful, and so it's really easy to create when you have something so rooted in beauty.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Exactly. When we have that muse, you can't beat it. It's the best muse out
Exactly,
there to have Jesus Christ at the center of it all. And
for
to just
sure.
always have that gut check to make sure that that's who you're doing it for and why you're doing it.
Mhm,
I think it's so easy to desire fame or to want to be one of the girls that has all of the PR coming in from
mhm,
Rode and from all of these big brands, and you want to be at Coachella and all of this stuff, and it's like that's so easy to get sucked into, but to really make sure that it just remains all about him is
mhm,
the point. That's the whole point. So to make sure
yeah,
that we're actually doing it for him, That's the gut check. That's the thing to pray through. And that's the thing to check in with your friends on and make sure that you're not doing it out of vanity. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be my advice there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that I love how you touched on vanity too, because I think that a lot of times women, they have these yearnings for beauty. They want the beautiful house, which,
Mhm.
and I think it's important to remember that beautiful things ultimately honor God.
Mhm.
But I think there also is that fear of, wait, when does this become vanity? When does inspiration become comparison?
Right.
How would you recommend that, or how do you, that's
Mhm.
an easier question. How do you stay grounded in this, like, walking that line of,
Mhm.
I think it's so easy for women to just slip down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so incredibly easy. I feel like my biggest vanity accountability buddy is McLean Noah. She runs the account a Catholic convo, and she is my very best friend, and we are obsessed with ourselves. It's so easy to be. I'm like, I'm the prettiest person I've ever seen, and I it's like a joke, obviously,
Yeah.
but at the core of it, I really do struggle with, like, okay, why am I posting this? Why am I posting this
Mm.
photo? Why am I creating this content? What's the point? Am I just trying to get attention? And I hate to break it to you girls, but there is not a perfect recipe here. I think that it is Satan's favorite little thing about social media is that, yeah, it's so easy to make it about ourselves. And he just wants us to be totally wrapped up in ourselves when the reality is our lives are not about ourselves. Our lives are about our choices. Our lives are about the way that we choose to glorify the Lord. But our life is not about ourselves. And that's a really harsh reality to face. And so I fail at this all the time. This is not something that I'm good at. This is not something that I would want to go and give a keynote talk on someday. I feel like I really need to grow in formation here because it's so easy to get wrapped up in your own vanity of vanities. And that is just not the way that I want to be. Like, it is a true struggle. It is not something that is helping me grow in my pursuit of sainthood. And it's so funny, like, as we continue to pursue sainthood, there's so many things that I'm like, Lord, you are calling me to that. And that is not a coincidence. Like, it is so,
Mhm.
so very much not a coincidence that you're calling me to this. And it is going to lead to great growth. And I kind of don't want to go through it, but you're going to have me do it anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, even in the littlest of things, like when I'm really struggling to get up for that Pilates class that I've referenced 16 times in this episode, why am I there? What's the point? And like really reordering my brain to be like, I'm doing this because I want to be strong and I want to be confident
Mhm.
and I want to glorify my body for the Lord and I want to respect this beautiful temple that He's blessed me with, right? Not, I want to be hot and I want to have a great butt. Like
Mhm.
it's so easy
Yeah.
to slip into that. And you just have to constantly be aware. And so I think that the greatest tip I could give here is to really push yourself to grow in self awareness. And that could be just ensuring that you're making time to pray and to especially journal with the Lord so that you're not just letting your mind wander, but to really like pray and have concrete thoughts with Him. And then also look into spiritual direction, look into therapy, and really make sure that you're just aware of who you are and what you feel and where your heart's going. Because the more I've grown in personal awareness, the more I realize, like, oh my gosh, I'm a mess. Like, I'm aware of what I'm feeling and where I'm going and why I'm doing it, right? I'm
Mhm.
doing this for blank and it's not the right reason. And I wouldn't be able to know that if I wasn't more aware of who I am and who the Lord has called me to actually be. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, start at the basics. Once again, I feel like that's kind of been the theme of this conversation unintentionally, but the Lord's up to something good there.
Yeah. It's the pillars. It's the
Mhm.
foundation right there,
Totally.
for sure. So this has been such a great conversation. To kind of wrap it up,
Absolutely.
what advice would you give to the woman who is looking to add more intentionality and a little more beauty?
Mm,
Um, let's say that she's kind of got the pillars down.
sure.
She's keeping the people she needs to keep alive. She's keeping
Yeah.
herself alive, which
Yeah.
is always a plus. But
Yeah.
she wants to have a little more intentionality and a little more beauty in the everyday,
Yeah.
as she navigates her own journey of becoming the woman that God is calling her to be.
Yeah, I love that. I would say go for it. That's like the most concise thing I would say. I think that when you're looking for more whimsy and more joy in your life, I just dare you to live with a little bit more reckless abandonment. And what I mean by that is stop saving the outfit for the perfect day. Stop saving the nice candle for the perfect moment when you've gotten through all of your Trader Joe's ones. If you have an idea for a cute party that you want to throw with your girlfriends, freaking do it, execute it. You're not too much. You're not being ridiculous. You're not too extra. You're being yourself. And I really feel like I've started to embrace that because I've had so many people tell me that I'm overwhelming or I'm intimidating, and I think that's hysterical because I really, really don't agree, but that's how they feel. And
Mhm,
so what can I do with that information? Okay, great. You feel like I'm intimidating. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to be intimidating, but that does not mean that I need to be lesser or more quiet. And yeah, I think that if you're holding yourself back based on other people's opinions, or if you're worried about throwing that party because you don't know if girls will show up, or
mhm.
if you feel like you don't know if you're well equipped enough to start a Bible study, you're genuinely not going to know until you try. We all had desires to learn how to ride a bike when we were little. And if we knew all of the risks of riding a bike, we would never learn how to ride a bike. But you have this childish abandonment that's just like, no, I want to ride a bike because it sounds fun and it seems cool. And I want
Yeah.
to ride it with my friends. And then you do it and you learn how to do it. And then you're confident, like me, and you do a turn way too fast and you end up with a rock in your knee. And now I have a
Oh
cool
my
scar
goodness.
that makes me think of that every day because that's the way that it is. But like you've got to just go for it like a little kid and not be afraid to live life so boldly and so
Mhm.
free with the Lord because yeah, we're not made for this world. So why are we I don't know, I really just keep thinking about like a specific dress or a really nice candle that we're
Yeah.
like, saving for a rainy day and it's like that could make you feel more like yourself in that moment in some little way because
Mhm,
you just wore the dress or you just lit the candle, right? And just go for it.
mhm. Yeah.
Go, like, yeah, it leads to so much discovery and so much intimacy and conversation with the Lord of like, why do you like these things? What are you doing them for? And who are you inviting me to become?
Mhm.
And just recognizing that your preference is just your preference. It's not groundbreaking.
Yeah.
It's not a huge deal. It's just what you
Yeah.
like? I like Taco Bell. That bothers a lot of people. That's okay, you know?
It's not a mortal sin.
Exactly. And so, yeah, leaning into what you like, figuring out what you like. That always reminds me of Caroline Lunny on Instagram. She's one of my friends and just an incredible, iconic woman that knows what she likes and shares what she likes on the internet. And it's such an inspirational way to go about our lives and to just do what we like what we do?
Exactly.
So that would be my advice.
I love it. Are there any last thoughts that you would like to share with our audience before I before I let you go?
Yeah. I would just say, yeah, if you're looking, like I just said, like if you're just really looking for, I don't know, a consistent reminder of fighting for who you want to be and trying to incorporate more beauty in your life, feel free to follow me along on Becoming Courtney. It's becoming.courtney. And it's just the traditional spelling of Courtney. I love to document my life there, and I really pour my heart into our podcast, the Daily Nothings podcast. And we have an incredible Patreon community called the Daily Somethings, and it's just so much fun over there. We have 3 additional podcasts a week that go out, and so you get a solo episode with me, a solo episode with my co-host Megan, and then we alternate between doing a sort of fun segment-based episode as well as a pop culture deep dive every week. And
Mhm.
so we really try to like, yeah, dive into that worldly view, but also really talk about how we're going about our day to day as Catholics over on the Daily Nothings and especially the Daily Somethings on Patreon. So check us out. And lastly, just thank you, Amy, so much for having me on and asking me such great questions and just getting to know me a little bit more. It's been so much
Yeah.
fun.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of
Of
your
course.
busy day.
No problem.
And to all of our listeners, if you are intrigued, definitely go check out Courtney on social media. If you have college students who, maybe are unsure about their faith lives, have them go check out Focus because they're doing great things over there.
Yes,
And if,
absolutely.
they're females, have them go listen to the Daily Nothings podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
right. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Fairest Love podcast. We will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fairest Love podcast. In 2026, we continue to share the devotion to Mary, Mother of Fairest Love. If you like what you heard on today's show, please visit our website at fairestlovefamilyproject.org, where you can find additional podcasts and other resources for families. Be sure to also check us out on social media at Fairest Love Project. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you on an episode soon.